Did you know that 15 years ago, economist Thomas Sowell proved how price gouging laws were a net negative for, wait for it, disaster victims? Now, I know this sounds completely counterintuitive. After all, doesn't it seem a little bit obtuse to be praising someone for taking advantage of people who may have just lost everything? But Sowell was able to demonstrate that it may be lawmakers who are creating a worse problem than the gas station, hotel, or grocery store owners. Let's use the example Sowell used 15 years ago when Florida was struck by a hurricane. Charlie left over $11 billion in damage across Florida, leaving many residents in the Tampa Bay area with severe shortages of things like gas, housing, and basic consumer goods. A hotel room shot up from $40 a night to over $100, and many Floridians were outraged. Critics, including the state's own governor, called it price gouging, while Florida's attorney general at the time wrote an op-ed slamming Thomas Sowell. So what exactly did Sowell say that caused such outrage? Well, he suggested that Florida's anti-price gouging laws were helping to make the state's shortages in gas, housing, and consumer goods even worse than they otherwise would have been. Sowell pointed out that while it's easy for politicians to demonize a hotel, gas station, or grocery store for charging more in a crisis, it's important to remember that the costs associated with supply and demand are not automatically suspended during a disaster. With more demand and less supply, prices naturally go up. This isn't necessarily because people are mean, it simply reflects the reality on the ground. But Sowell really made people mad when he suggested that this temporary increase in prices could actually serve a purpose. Now, before you throw something at the screen, hear him out. For instance, when a hotel raises its rates, it's because the rooms are in higher demand. If the prices stay the same, a family of 4 might decide to get 2 rooms instead of 1. But with the higher rate, they're incentivized to only get 1 room for their family, and now another room becomes available for another family in need. And it's not just hotel rooms. Rising prices for goods incentivizes other people to work to make those goods available. For example, John Stossel reported that in response to Hurricane Katrina, a man bought 19 generators, rented a U-Haul, and drove 600 miles to an area of Mississippi that had been left without power following the hurricane in order to sell the generators. He ended up being arrested, his generators confiscated, and the people who wanted to buy them couldn't. Now, think about that for a second. In a time of crisis, the authorities spent time and resources throwing someone in jail for selling generators to people who needed them and at a price they were willing to pay. The lack of supply led to an increase in price, which motivated someone to go out of their way to meet that demand. Now, you may be thinking that he should have donated them, and that certainly would have been generous, but here's my question. Did the politicians that threw him in jail do that? And if not, who was actually helping more in that moment? The guy making a profit providing something that people needed, or the politicians moralizing about it?